Late night bites with friends? Already hard to beat. That first too hot bite of fries you couldn't wait for, followed by ice cold Pepsi. Now that hits different. Suddenly, the energy kicks back in, the night goes longer, and the laughs don't stop. Because Pepsi brings out more flavor, more fun, and more of the moment. Food deserves Pepsi. Grab a Pepsi Zero Sugar today.
Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to the special bit of an animal preview show for South Africa versus New Zealand in the greatest rivalry tour. Joining me on the panel for this evening, he's wearing a South African rugby shirt. He's based in Gauteng, but he's rumored to be Tupova's spiritual advisor. It's Thembinkosi.
How's it? How's it?
And joining us on the panel as well, a face people quite familiar on the Global Gainlines, Kaylin Scully, the only person in Ireland who's not happy that Mayo won, Sam.
Thanks very much for having me on, lads. We could get into that for hours about the All Ireland Senior Football Championship, but we do have a greatest rivalry tour to preview, so I'm conscious of it. But congrats to Mayo, I will say, and sure, if we get a four test series that is half as good as that All Ireland final was, I'd be pretty happy. Even if I mightn't get to see the first test, despite previewing it, there's a little bit of a conflict of interest going on Saturday. But no, I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, you're always so busy, Kaylin. Where do you find the time? So for these special preview shows that I've done with a few of our colleagues, Ethan, Hattie, Jacob Bashford, Thembinkosi as well, previously, we always start with vibes before we get to the team sheets. So Thembinkosi, we've got the two team sheets. The game is 48 hours away. Everyone's super stoked. Some of us are saying it's better than the British and Irish Lions tour. What's the vibes going into into Saturday?
It's exciting vibes. I think it's a game that we are all looking forward to. Uh, Vibes wise, how am I feeling about the game? I think it's gonna be like a blockbuster game. I can't wait to actually see it. It's a matter of who will come up on top.
Kaylon, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I go along similar lines. I think it's going to be a cracking test series. As much as I'm really high on South Africa at the moment and how well they're playing, I don't see a world where New Zealand don't win one of the four tests, to be quite honest. And I'd probably, kind of pull the cart before the horse here a small bit because it's very early. I can actually see this being a series draw, 2-2 by the end of it, to be honest. I think just from what we've seen of New Zealand in the Nations Championship, from what we've seen in South Africa, I kind of basically say post World Cup 2023. I think they're a new team since Tony Brown stepped in there, and Jerry Flannery, I should add, as an Irishman. And I think it makes for a cracking test series. There's three teams, three test teams who are so far ahead of everyone else in the world. New Zealand and South Africa are two of them. So to see it 4 weeks in a row, it's going to be pretty special. And I think it's going to be a cracking atmosphere. And I know we might get into, ticket prices and all that as well. But every time New Zealand come to town, no matter what town it is, no matter where in the world it is, it's always something special. So I think it's going to be unreal. It might be a great start to the season in a way that the Rugby Championship often struggles to match, say, the Six Nations.
Yeah, true. It's going to be interesting. Some it's differing opinions that I've had expressed to me throughout the week from coworkers and people I've spoken to in person. Some people, I personally not putting a lot of weight into the fact that New Zealand brushed aside the three EURC franchises that they did face, because those weren't like full strength, and the guys that they had were sort of in midst of preseason. But it's a good start for New Zealand. I think South Africa still have a slight edge. It is a bit weird that it's a match series because that obviously brings into account that it could go to a draw, which is not the type of sort of tournament you want. I'd really be disappointed. I'd be more disappointed if it ended in a draw than if New Zealand won the series. What I will say is that from my perspective, I think South Africa have the edge right now. We'll see how these things pan out, especially in terms of attrition of players. That having been said, and I expressed this to a few friends earlier this week as well, that whatever happens, actually, I doubt New Zealand won't win any games. They'll definitely at least win one game because of the nature of these two teams being both very, very good, up there with France, top three in the world, in my opinion. this could galvanize New Zealand because they've changed their coaching staff, as well as if they go on this type of tour and they take 44 people on this tour, and yes, some people have gotten injured and they have to go home. It's going to give them a certain degree of camaraderie and that type. It's almost like going on a sports tour in high school and that type of thing, where you grow that bonds and stuff like that. So this could set New Zealand up very, very well in terms of a World Cup around the corner, just over the pond for them in Australia. So that could work in their favor quite well. Maybe not winning the series. They might win it in 4 years' time when it's in New Zealand, but this could set them up really well for the World Cup. So we'll look at the South Africa team first, and Temikosi, I'll get your opinions on it initially.
Well, before I actually jump into the team, just to add, I feel like okay, I'm defending them now. Um, People were complaining that South African teams were not that strong, right, for the three games against New Zealand. But I think one thing that we all overlooked is that my player welfare that we all committed to, that some players need to rest and there needs to be a certain procedure in place on how each player gets their time. So I think that when we look at the four opening okay, yeah, the three opening matches, we actually kind of overlooked that fact. I've never seen anyone try to bring it up, but I'm just saying I just wanted to state it out there. But going to the team, I am glad to see Paul de Villiers there. I was wondering whether he was going to get there. I'm happy to see him there, and I think just by looking at it, this has to be the strongest squad we have available to us right now, including like everyone that I'm not even sure if even if some of the people that are currently on are injured or something would actually be a better option than the person that has the current shirt. Maybe Pollard over Sasha, but I think this is the this is as much as the strongest squad I could think that Russell would pick. Fassi, I mean Damon Williams over Fassi, judging by his performance, that probably was a given. Um, I think Jalen is getting his like 100th century, right? Probably so. If you take that into account, that I saw this other funny stat. Now that I'm mentioning it out there, that South Africa's starting lineup has about 800 and something caps compared to New Zealand's starting lineup, which has like 600 and something. So the fact that we have so much experience while we're still bleeding in new players like Bob de Villiers, Yorono here. I'm surprised that Zachary Person is probably rated over Tank Thomas. I'm not sure. Maybe it's just for this match. Maybe he will play the next match. But yeah, overall, good squad, good squad. I think I have a lot to say. I think I I could probably go by position and say probably have a comment. But yeah, so far, my basic judgment would be this is a pretty strong squad, and the back line alone would play. Seems like they might show us something that we haven't seen yet.
Kaelon, any surprises for you?
Yeah, I was kind of reading over it this morning. I kind of haven't followed the warm-up game, so I can't really comment too much in that particular regard. The selection of de Villiers is probably the one that jumps out to me the most because obviously C is not involved, and you could potentially have gone with Van Staden. You could have went with this Hazen at six as well if you want to be very bold. That's probably the one that jumps out most. But even at that, I don't think with the pack around him you'd have any fears. I think front row, South Africa are probably better. Second row, maybe not necessarily on form, but they're still top class second row bearing the whole way through. And I know there's a bit of discourse online about centres, and that matchup, and we get on to New Zealand in a bit. I really do think that could be where the game gets won and lost, though, is in that midfield axis. If things don't go right for Sasha, or if things don't go right for Creel and Dale Ende, like where do they go from there? That's the only thing. And obviously when you go with the 6-2 bench, you're always a little bit limited. Like Libbok is not going to come on and go to 12 or go to 13. That's probably the only concerns I'd have. De Villiers is probably the big call from my vantage point. But even at that, like of the 23, you wouldn't really have any concerns about anyone in particular, and that's a great position to be in, this far out from a World Cup, because there was always a chance, coming off 2023, that South Africa would have to really, change things up massively. And like realistically, they haven't. Yes, Sasha's a new face, Grant Williams is, but the rest were all in contention at the very, very least. So they're in a very good spot, and I do look forward to seeing what they can do, because New Zealand's pack, to their credit, have been very, very good in recent weeks, in my opinion. Discounting the warm-up games, I don't really count them anyways. I think that promises to be a matchup that maybe if you'd said, 12 months ago under Robertson, I would have just said South Africa. Whereas now with Dave Rennie, and especially against Ireland, they just played that little bit more condensed. That I'm just wondering, will South Africa be as prepared for it? That's the only thing. But again, will we have these conversations 4 times over, which is, hopefully not overkill. That's all I'd say. Hopefully we'll be enjoying those conversations 4 times over. But yeah, to wrap it up, I think it's a very, 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 very strong 23.
I think that's a key point as well. The fact that the last really competitive test match that New Zealand played, besides these 3 warm-up games, was against Ireland, and they look pretty good. And then since then, with the 3 warm-up games, they've just sort of mixed and matched the team. Damian Willemse has evolved into like our best fullback option. Predictably, Jason Colby and Kurtley Arnason were picked on the wing. Damien Del Andy and Jesse Kriel are the first choice centre pairing right now. The debate came in with Sasha Feinberg and Ngomezulu, who only really came back from injury, starting against Argentina 2 weeks ago. Grant Williams has mostly played off the bench as impact, with Kobus Reinach starting or another scrum half starting. And then the loose trio is on paper our best selection of Jasper Visser, Pieter-Steph du Toit, and then Paul de Villiers coming in for Captain Fantastic, Siya Kolisi. The lock pairing is interesting because Evan Etzebeth has been injured for long periods of time. Rowan Nokia has been more consistent and available. Evan also really only coming back against Argentina, so we'll see what his actual fitness is. The selection of Volko Low to start as opposed to off the bench is interesting, because there's debate of like how Volko Low's scrummaging ability factored in with his lack of mobility here and there. Malcolm Marx was always going to start at hooker. And then Oxenchair, back from injury, did not play against Argentina, so we'll see what type of game he can have. With Jan Hendrik Wessels actually now Malcolm Marx's understudy, which is very interesting. I think Jan Hendrik Wessels, who can also play loose head prop, will just be focusing on just being a very mobile impact player for Malcolm Marx. There could be scenarios where Malcolm Marx actually doesn't come off at all, and Jan-Hendrik Wessels actually comes on at lucid prop. Speaking of lucid prop, Gerard Stenenkamp can do a job there, and then a highly mobile and very effective Zach Porthen at tight head. And then when we get to the lock replacements, it's very interesting because less experienced Kobus Visser picked ahead of Lote Jager, and it's a 6-2/5-3 hybrid split with Andre Esterhuizen on the bench, because he can play both center and flank. Well, Marco, see, Andre Esterhuizen's got the 20 number on his back, and Marco Verstaan's got the 21 number on his back. So there's a bit of sort of cloak and dagger going on there. And then Kobus Reinach and Manie Libbok are replacements on there. Interestingly, it's almost like Manie Libbok is like if they start Sasha and he's not quite at it, Manie Libbok comes on and takes over the game with his ability and experience. It's weird because Manie Libbok is now what Manie Libbok to Sasha Feinberg and Ngomezulu is now what Andre Pollard was to Manie Libbok. Manie Libbok will start the game, and if things go well, he just plays it until the last 10 minutes, and Pollard maybe comes and finishes, or Manie Libbok plays the whole game. But now roles have changed, and Manie Libbok has become the senior in the team, who, arguably our best fly off. So the creativity and the sort of the X factor of Sasha Feinberg and Ngomezulu starts, but if things go awry, we have that sort of ability on the bench to impact the game. So I would suspect, yeah, Andre Esterhuizen, if Damien Delandy would go down, Andre Esterhuizen would cover inside center if need be, but otherwise I think he might make an impact off the bench. We'll look at the New Zealand team now. Pretty much what I thought. Kaylan, we'll go with you first. How different is this to the team that you faced in New Zealand not too long ago?
That's not a great jumping off point because I didn't I kind of rolled out of bed about 5 minutes before that one kicked off. No, look, it is definitely the new era of New Zealand rugby, especially when you look at number 10 being Ruben Love and how he has usurped Bowden Barrett and pushed Damien McKenzie back to 15. To kind of start to group Taylor Lomax, I think that's the most reliable, consistent part of the All Blacks of the last couple of years when all three were fit. I really like Josh Lord and Fabian Holland, if I'm quite honest. Fabian Holland played a All Blacks XV game in Limerick 2 years ago, got player of the match that day. He's just an abrasive figure with a massive engine. Lord similar. And I really like how New Zealand are kind of changing their direction. Like with Lord Holland, Vi, Jacobson, Savea, it's not all power, but it's not small. It's kind of blending into the modern rugby that we come to know of being 80-minute athletes, being consistent players, not consistent players, but being kind of all-rounded players. And with New Zealand, they always have these guys who are just phenomenal, phenomenal athletes. So I really like what they're trying to do there. Roygaard, as I said, or sorry, Love, as I said, at 10, Roygaard at 9, huge Cam Roygaard fan. I think he's brilliant. Barrett and Toupé and the centres then what do you say? Like, what can you say about Jordy Barrett at this stage? Like, he's been around long enough. I think it's 10 years since he played under 20s, and we've kind of known every little thing about him since then. I'm not fully up to date on Josh Moorby, to be honest. But Jordan and McKenzie in the back three then will just rip you to shreds if given half a chance. And the bench is pretty strong as well. Like Peter Lakai is a brace of figure to bring off the bench. I think Leroy Carter is that rounded talent as well. Faso Amua is always consistently very, very good. Yeah, I'd be looking at this New Zealand team, and when you kind of look at who's not there, and like Bowden and Scott Barrett, for example, just to pick them off the top of my head, and Richie Mo'unga, who may get called back in shortly, they have the talent. They really, really do. I think Scott Robertson, his bigger issue was more the coaching and the brand of rugby and the consistency and getting consistent 80-minute performances out of these guys. But I think with Dave Rennie and how he's kind of trying to strip back that game a little bit, there's absolutely every chance that this team could waltz in into Johannesburg, into Ellis Park, and get the job done because they do have the tools. And I think if New Zealand played the way they did against Ireland, not just from a performance standpoint, from a direction standpoint, and they play narrower and they try and take you on and then run you from, once they get over the game line, try and run you from there. Things have got a huge opportunity. They really do. Like, I still make South Africa favourites, but write this team off at your peril. It's as I said at the start of the show, it's the best and the second best teams in the world going head to head. So you really can't write either team off.
It's interesting because this is pretty much what I thought would be their first team, minus a few guys that might have been injured. Caleb Clark having gone back. We'll see if Will Jordan actually makes the match 23 because he's a concern as well. Jody Barrett starting at inside center. And then because they mixed and matched over the last three games against the URC unions, people were saying, oh, New Zealand don't look that great. They look a little off, a pace slower, that type of thing, but they were literally sort of feeling their way into this tour, mix and matching the team, but also understanding when to peak. And then when sort of the opportunity comes through, when it's actually an actual test match, they go full. These are the guys we can rely on. Josh Morby obviously getting an opportunity because of injuries to players. The fact that there's this new coaching staff has come in and back Ruben Love to the degree that he's playing with so much confidence. Even though like in the warm up game, like when he kicked the ball dead, nobody freaked out. Everybody was like very chilled about it. It's a 5-3 split on the bench, but it's no. I don't see Segner and Peter Lakai as lock options. So that means obviously to provide shifts to lock if anything happens to Lord or Holland. Um, Temikosi, your brother-in-law Peter Lakai is on the bench. Is he upset? What's going on there? Would you ever like to start?
I think he's very upset. He's very upset. Him and Simon Parker, and who's this other one? Stigna. I think they'll be very upset that they didn't get to get a start. I also don't see Wallace the TT. I'm not sure if he's injured or what's going on there. But like you just said, it's a strong team. Ethan, Taylor, and Lomax probably their best tech, and off the bench you got also for what also then Bauer. I'm surprised that George is there. I thought maybe Xavier would have probably impressed the last couple of games, but then again, maybe it's because he was playing against URC team. But I thought Xavier played pretty well. Fletcher, that's a standard thing. I think he is very well and he's very good. So I wouldn't expect anything less. George Floyd and Holland is like the locks. That's interesting. I'm wondering whether they picked them because we are looking forward as like maybe the new lock combination going forward as for New Zealand, or is it because um there's like a shortage in where Cody is not third Scott is injured and what happened to Patrick? I'm not sure what's going on with Patrick, but yeah, they really have a low stock on what is this on locks. But for something that they really have, they have a lot of talent when it comes to outside forwards. I don't know what they need to do. Maybe they need to do some sort of hybrid. They have a lot. Kuchalakai, Josh Jacobs, people I don't know what they need to do. I think that right now they currently have like a lot of them, not to even mention Adi Savea. So maybe they should find a way to play with them, find to build their game around them. Also, I still would have liked to see Duplessis Karifi, especially at the wing. Given that I mean, especially at center, since I've seen playing center at that EPC. But good to see Love and Roy God. That combination seems like to be working really well. Josh Moody is, I think, has to be the luckiest person, but I feel like he deserves it. I think he didn't get as much game time, but the game time that he did get, he was impressive. So maybe he deserves to get that one outside back shirt. I'm not sure which one. Maybe fullback. I'm not saying anything about Damien McKenzie, but I think he really deserves to be here. And the rest, where there's a will, there's a try. So yeah,
Where there's a will, there's a try. That's an interesting one. We'll have to let's see how these things pan out. Um, all right, Kaylan, you're on the spot now. Score prediction.
Not good for score predictions. I generally try not to give them, and it's
Yeah,
also not good.
you're on a South African rugby podcast, and people in South Africa known degenerate gamblers. So careful what you say.
And the funny thing is, this is the second podcast I've done this week where I've been asked for score predictions. The first time I tried to wiggle my way out of it without giving one, but this time I will. I will go down that route. Without knowing what the bookies handicap or spread for it is, I'd be leaning towards South Africa, to be quite honest. I think they will get over the line. I think they'll get the win. I just think all in all, as much as I like the Dave Rennie project, as much as I like the direction which they're going in, not from an Irish standpoint, but from a, you know, covering New Zealand standpoint, I think this might be a game too far for them. I think this is going to be the one that Razzie will have South Africa fired up for. Get off to a flyer. Get that, don't have fans turning up having paid quite a lot of money next week, a little bit uncomfortable with you. Do make sure that you are on the front foot. And I think being on the front foot in a four test series, they're going to lose one. I'm going to say it, like South Africa are going to lose one of these four games. I can't see them winning all four. I mean, it's possible, but you know what I mean? It's possible to say I win 100-0, but like it's not. But I just think this one screams South Africa. And it's a weird one because obviously, for yourselves it's a little bit different. But I always, when I do step in and watch their test games, not all of them, there's always games where you're like, there's no way they're losing this. And against Ireland in the Aviva last year, I was kind of in that boat where I was like, I can't see them losing. Like this is this is such a strong team. I can't see them losing. And I'll go back to that. I can't see that South Africa losing this one at altitude in Ellis Park as well, and all the significance that has for New Zealand games. I'm gonna go South Africa. I'm gonna go 29-25. I think it'll be a one score game. I think it'll whet the appetite. I will have it on the laptop. Like I won't get to see it fully, but I'll have it on the laptop in front of me, and I think it's gonna be a doozy. To be quite honest, of the four games, I would be surprised if two of them were blowouts. I could see definitely the game in Baltimore, depending on how it's fixed. But I can definitely see a situation where we get a lot of one-score games. And South Africa, they love to toy with you. They could be 10 points better. They'll beat you by four. They're weird like that. And I'm going to go with a 4-point win, 29-25. I'm going to go with the box. I know my audience.
And no wonder you have a green background. Uh, Demikosi, I know the game is 2 days away. Anything can happen between this now. We'll see. Will Jordan actually makes it on the field? Thoughts, score prediction.
think I also believe it's going to be a tight game. I think they're going to fight for it. Probably, I see them scoring more tries. Maybe like a 30, 32, 34 type of score line or something like that. I can see them. So I can see each team scoring at least four tries, bare minimum, unless that suddenly their defense is very top. But I can see them actually getting at four tries, so it could be a big score. In terms of betting, oh, I want to bet on this. How much do you want to bet that we're gonna have that airplane flying over Ellis Park before the game? Most likely
Uh,
we're gonna get that.
I don't know. With the cost of fuel these days, we'll see. We might just do a kite. But this game is not the only game significant to the Africans this weekend. There's three Currie Cup games this Friday and then one on Sunday. So we have the teams courtesy of the internet. We have the teams for the three Currie Cup games tomorrow night, starting with 3 p.m. kickoff. Barely out of high school. Griquas versus Pumas. This is a SA Cup derby. These two teams often see one another in the Currie Cup Premier Division knockout stages these days. So they're both going. They'll see a couple of players that our colleague Scottish Ethan will be familiar with, Roel van der Walt, on his ways to Glasgow. Thabo Mande recently returned from playing in the second division in England. Shout out to him. JJ Skeepers is there, so they're going full bore. Stormer supporters are very well versed with Clinton Swart. I believe you once asked if Clinton Swart was somebody's dad who sort of mows it onto the field. Shame on you. I do not know who Clinton Swart is. He's a Super Rugby legend. So it's Pumas versus Griquas. I think it's going to be tight, but both teams full strength. A lot of these players are headed off to URC teams after the season. So I'm thinking, even though Griquas are going up to Mpumalanga to play this game, Griquas defending Currie Cup champions, I'm thinking they'll win. Bulls versus Stormers. It's the North-South derby. Um, Pretty much sort of a mixed B and C team. Look forward to seeing Ndebele play for the Sharks next season in the URC. I think Temikos is very well versed with Make from the victorious SA under 20 team. JJ thought so a lot of blue chip under 20 players and baby box in this Bulls team. Likewise for the Stormers team, Marcus Miller is there, Carl Smith starting. So this game will kick off at 5 o'clock on Friday. And then it's the bit of an animal derby. It's my Sharks versus Tim Nkosi's Lions. Tim Nkosi, Ethan Adams' first appearance for the Lions in a senior game. Thoughts? He's on the bench though.
He's gonna score. It's gonna break your heart. You're gonna come and complain to me the next time we have the spot. But yeah, I really can't see. I can't wait to see him play.
Yeah, the game kicks off at 7:15 in the evening of Friday. I hope I'm home in time to actually catch it. A couple of other baby bucks on the team as well. Luke Conan, Assad Morse. That's the Lions team, and obviously a few on the Sharks. The Rambo Kubeka, Liam van Wyk, Ngobese, tight end. Senior players, Timo Swill starting at fly off. Ross Diaz, captain, interesting enough, and Leon Gillemeier, who played well off the bench against New Zealand. He's starting at fullback, and then Janko Purchase at 12. Looking forward to seeing him play. Lyle Matthews, sort of a revelation from club rugby going forward. Interesting stuff. And then obviously the Cheetahs Bowland game, because it's on Friday, they have not, sorry, on Sunday, it's kicking off on Sunday at 3 in Bloemfontein. They have not announced the teams yet. We're obviously hoping to see Faf, because every time Faf plays, the Cheetahs generally win. Gentlemen, before we go, Kaelon, you want to plug your Substack, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the name of it off the top of my head, which is not a great start. It's definitely Kaelon Scully something. But you can catch me on the Interpro show. We'll be back very, very soon ahead of the URC season. We're going to be on, I think we're going to be on Global Gainline for the start of the season and then moving over to our own page. So check out the Interpro show for all things Irish rugby. We're going to have provincial podcasts, Munster, Leinster, Connacht, Ulster. So that's probably the best place to find all of our stuff. And of course, the Global Gainline family, I should say, is always getting bigger and better, and including yourselves. So it promises to be a great season, World Cup year as well. So they're always the ones that feel like they go on forever. So hopefully we get a bit of a reprieve in the middle. But before I go, thanks very much for having me on, lads, as well, because this is a test match that I'm genuinely looking forward to more than any of the nation's championship games. So make of that as you will.
Although we should still have you and maybe some of your colleagues on in October for South Africa women versus Irish women at Athlone Stadium. Hope to actually be there, and I've obviously, if you watch the previous pod, our a contributor Christy, who's out in London, she said she'll be in Cape Town that time. So hopefully myself, Christy, and Lisa B will be there in person to watch the women's Springbok versus Irish women live. Hopefully, if a wafer's playing. Temikosi, do you want to plug your OnlyFans? You
No,
can't remember the name of that one either. But don't worry, you can catch Temikosi also on the Lions podcast. Well, there'll be a Lions podcast, a Bulls podcast, and a Sharks podcast. And if you're watching this, you're probably watching it on the Global Gainline and the Bit of an Animal YouTube channel. We're trying to get the Bit of an Animal YouTube channel to 1,000 subscribers before Christmas. Um, until next week, for myself, Temikosi, and Kaelon, as we say every week, in Rahatsi, we trust. Cheers.